Now, Bangladesh is preparing for a high-stakes election on the 12th of February, the first in nearly 2 decades without Sheikh Hasina or Khalida Zia. With fears of unrest and political violence, attention now on whether security forces and the army can keep the vote peaceful and neutral. Darshan Dalal has this report.
Bangladesh is preparing for an election unlike any other in its recent history. After years of disputed polls and opposition boycotts, this vote is being billed as the country's first genuinely competitive election since 2008, but also one of its most volatile. Security has become the central concern. The interim government has deployed police, paramilitary forces, and thousands of army personnel across the country, particularly in politically sensitive districts and former ruling party strongholds. Analysts warn the risk is not just election day violence, but what comes before and after.
And many Bangladeshis haven't had the chance to vote for the past 17 years. So I think there's a lot of excitement around the election, people having the opportunity to vote again. I mean, if you think about it, someone in their early 30s may not have ever voted in a competitive election before. So that excitement's definitely there. But I think there is uncertainty as to what will come next.
That uncertainty is feeding into several potential flashpoints. Experts point to clashes between rival party supporters, attempts to deliberately disrupt the vote, and internal fighting within parties themselves.
Conflict between candidates or supporters of candidates who are participating in the election. So that would principally be between BNP supporters and Jamaat supporters in constituencies that are considered in play where there's going to be a very competitive election.
The infighting within the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has already been one of the deadliest sources of political violence since the interim government took power after Sheikh Hasina's ouster. At the same time, minorities and supporters of the banned Awami League fear they could be targeted or even detained if they turn up to vote.
That the violence has not necessarily peaked that much if you compare with the other elections. So I think that is a great signal.
That places enormous pressure on Bangladesh's security forces, particularly the army. Since August 2024, when Hasina fled the country, the military has been deployed nationwide to backstop a weakened police force. Its neutrality is now seen as decisive.
At that point, the army chief, had the choice whether he wanted to take power himself or come up with another way forward for the country. And I think he made a wise decision, not to take power.
For voters, trust in that neutrality may determine turnout and acceptance of the result. Analysts warn that if any major bloc rejects the outcome, Bangladesh could face post-election unrest, regardless of who wins.
They must also make sure at the same time, the political parties do not necessarily engage in violent conflicts and the post-election violence. I think those are the areas that they need to be very careful about.
With millions heading to the polls, Bangladesh's security forces face a defining test, not just to keep the order, but to safeguard credibility in a vote many see as a turning point for the country's fragile democracy. Darshan Dalal, Arabiya English.